This video is not intended for children, but rather for 20-something nerds that take cartoons way too seriously and overanalyze everything. If you are younger than 13 years old, you are not supposed to be on YouTube. Yay, the Dalmatian show is back, and soon we get to see Cruella in all her glory. But before that, VR gaming! So, we finally have an episode about Poodlewolf. Was really looking forward to learn a bit more about that media franchise, considering that Dylan's such a big fan of it. And since I'm the resident nerd, I of course can relate to that very much. Admittedly, I'm a little bit surprised that we get to see it here in form of a VR game, which seemingly runs on a phone, so you know that it is high quality. Well, let's go a bit off topic here. Personally, I'm not a big fan of VR gaming. Tried it a couple of times and I was really impressed with it first. You feel like you are in that room, but personally I lose my immersion rather quickly once you start to move around and interact with things. It is a neat gimmick and there are some games that are fun to play for sure, but I can't really get into it and I really don't feel the need to pay a couple of $100 to get the proper equipment. And I don't think that I will ever until they develop the nerf gear from SAO. And then about 2,000 people die because they were too stupid to play the game. Well, anyway, let's talk about this episode. Dylan starts playing Poodlewolf and the quest for the golden shoe toy, but shortly after he starts, Hansel asks for Dylan since they are supposed to go on a date. Poetry slam together. Dolly, being Dolly, sees this as an opportunity to spend some time with her crush and turns off the timer on Dylan's VR headset, which was supposed to notify him when his playtime is over. Cause he apparently gets very easily addicted to the game, but admittedly a relatable problem, cause we all have been there. You're playing the game and you are like, I only finished this one level, and suddenly it's 2 AM in the morning because the cutscenes in Metal Gear Solid 4 are unbearable long. Dolly tells Hansel that Dylan is busy and that he asked her to accompany him instead. Hansel seems to be okay with that, but we don't see how that date went. Instead, we cut to the next morning where Dolly and Dawkins notice that Dylan is absent as he played the game all night. They remove the VR headset, but since he played the game for so long, he now thinks that he is Poodlewolf, runs off and causes some mayhem. Dawkins reasons that he snaps out of it if he can finish the game, but he and Dolly accidentally breaks the VR headset while arguing about it. So they have only one option left. A LARP session. That's live action roleplay for the uneducated among you. But for that plan to work, they need someone to play the villain. So they go and ask Constantine.
Well, I do have extensive kabuki theater experience, but cosplay?
That stuff is not mutually exclusive, Constantine. I mean, I know there's at least a kabuki play based on Naruto and probably several other anime. So yeah, they go through with that plan. Dolly's at first a bit too embarrassed to play along, especially when Hansel shows up, but in the end, her love for her brother comes through and she does what she has to do. Well, and as it turns out, Hansel is actually a Poodlewolf fan himself, so her performance actually impressed him. Okay, we got a few things to unpack here. Admittedly, the episode is pretty straightforward for the most part. Frankly, almost a bit too straightforward. I try to avoid this point if possible, but I think I should bring it up here. This episode felt a bit too short. Between establishing the conflict and its resolution, there isn't really much time to show Dylan in his delusional state, wasting quite a bit of potential comedy, and we don't quite see as much of the Poodlewolf world as I hoped for. This is a sort of premise that really would have lent itself better for a 20-minute episode. The final fight takes up about a third of the episode after all, though admittedly they did a very good job compressing it and I really love that last third. Something I rather enjoy about 101 Dalmatian Street is the use of art shifts within an episode to bring the imagination of its characters to life. We already saw something similar in Long Tongue Day and in a very different form in Doggy Da Vinci. The shift to more stylized illustrations allows for some rather impressive visuals. Very eye-catching and they are full of character, which makes it a delight to watch. I imagine the animators had a blast working on that. Other than that, I think this episode did a decent job handling Dolly. I mean, we already discussed a couple of times on this channel how diversive Dolly's selfishness can be. You find that aspect of her character in this episode as well, as she starts the conflict by messing with Dylan's VR headset. However, it isn't really as much of a problem here as she doesn't have any malicious intentions. Sure, pretending that Dylan is busy so she can take his place to go on a quote-unquote date with Hansel surely is selfish, but it's overall pretty harmless. She couldn't have predicted that Dylan would get sucked into the video game as he did. In other episodes you get the feeling that she would make fun of Dylan's delusions, but here she is sincerely worried about him, and she is willing to do what is necessary to help him, even if she has to embarrass herself, which in the end didn't turn out to be much of an embarrassment at all, since Hansel turned out to be a Poodlewolf fan as well, which is by the way a nice way of showing how mainstream nerd culture is becoming nowadays, when the cool kids are into geek stuff, I suppose. Speaking of which, this episode did an admittedly pretty good job how it feels when someone tells you all about the game or movie or whatever you couldn't care less about.
Proceed.
According to legend, the kingdom of Catatonia was once ruled by a fair feline princess, good and true. But alas, wicked Lord Furball soon usurped her throne after seizing the golden chew toy, fabled font of all her powers, which he used to turn her into a mere dog's body. Verily now it came to pass that Poodlewolf defeated Furball, reclaimed the golden chew toy, and returned the princess to her true form so she may save her subjects from—
Make it stop!
I do that way too often. But in my defense, my friends tend to geek out about other stuff. Anyway, not much to say about Dylan in this episode. I mean, I could point out that he doesn't even wear headphones, so he should have been way more aware of his surroundings while playing the game, but hey, that would be the lowest of nitpicks. We also get another great supporting appearance by Dawkins, being the one who comes up with the plan, and there's of course Constantine, and frankly I thought it was interesting as we got to see a bit of a different side of him this time around. So far he mostly took on more antagonistic roles, looking down on the Dalmatians, so having him helping out for once was very nice, even if he played a villain for that. And it was really fun to see how he got into character. He certainly enjoyed the limelight and lost himself a bit in the role, going off script. Not very professional for a kabuki actor, but yeah, that's something we haven't seen of him before. It was probably the first time he was really enthusiastic about something besides messing with the dogs. And I guess that's a good point to wrap things up. Poodlewolf was a rather good episode. Rather fun premise, but I do think that the episode was a bit too short to make full use of it. The episode has barely any time to show what the conflict is before they start to resolve it. But we do get fun interactions, interesting visuals, and certainly one of the better portrayals of Dolly. But what about you? Did you like this episode? Anything that bothered you? What are your thoughts on VR gaming? Let me know in the comments below. I am Dagger, Mimo to myself. Wait until after the Sword Art Online incident to get a Nerf gear. They will probably be on sale after 2,000 people died using them.
Sly as a fox, you got me under your spell. But you know I'll never tell that I know you know so well. Sometimes